Hello everyone, I am your host Priska Agnolo and you are watching the show NMH at 1 and we welcome you to our Friday edition. Let's get the show on the road. First off, let's take a look at news around the country. In our first story, Minister of Sport, Youth and National Service, Agnes Shongarero, said despite 62% of the Namibian population being the youth, the country remains with a high rate of over 39% of unemployed youth. Shongarero made the remark whilst launching the Youth Self-Employment Project in Horticulture at Onkuni B village in the Ondangwa rural constituency of the Oshana region yesterday. And for our second story, mobile telecommunications giant MTC donated 4 classrooms worth 800,000 Namibian dollars to Okandanue Primary School, located on the outskirts of Opuo. The classrooms are part of the MTC Rural Schools project, which answers to the call of dilapidated schools which lack decent structures or have none at all. And for our third story, a 30-year-old man died on Tuesday after a sand tunnel collapsed on him at Rukura village in the Kavango West region. According to a police report, the deceased and his co-workers were working on site preparations to construct a network tower for a telecommunications company at Rukura village, situated about 75 kilometers south of Nkurunkuru. The report says upon arrival of the police, they found the deceased co-workers at the scene while his body was still trapped in the sand. And now we move on to our COVID-19 news for today. By Wednesday, Namibia's COVID-19 recovery rate stood at 97%, with 339 active cases still in isolation or under self-quarantine. For a second week, the national average of new cases reported daily increased. For the 7 days up to Wednesday, this figure was 45 compared to 36 and 33 before that. Daily averages increased in 5 health districts. Oshakati, in contrast, shows a continued decrease, the average halving from 8 to 4 cases per day. Windhoek reported an average of 17 cases per day, up from 12, and Rehoboth 8 cases per day, one more than the average of 7 for the previous week. The average for Lüderitz increased from 2 to 5 cases, and in Rundu, an outbreak in the town's police cells pushed up the daily average from 0 to 3. In the Swakopmund district, the average increased from 1 to 2 cases per day. Official testing numbers for the regions has not been updated by the Ministry of Health and Social Services since the 27th of September, which was almost 8 weeks ago. We're going to go for a quick ad break, Namibia, and we'll be right back to introduce the video segments for today. For our first video segment for the day, Recon Africa, which plans to explore oil and gas in the Kavango East region, yesterday got the green light to their widely criticized project. This follows a meeting which took place yesterday in Rundu, where Minister of Mines and Energy, Tom Alwendo, Kavango East Regional Governor Bonifacius Wakudumo engaged the concerned parties. Do take a look.
I said information is very important and knowledge is power. We now know at which stage we are.
6 minutes.
It is exploration stage where our involvement perhaps was not that important. But now we are told that
it's probably not supposed to be that
time where
long.
we are,
Can you cut it to 3?
our involvement was not that important. But as we move forward,
Just so
our
you hear what he has to
involvement is very
say.
important. So
and then
if
we
they
cut it off.
continue, and they have to continue, but our involvement is very important, especially when we move to all other steps that comes forward. Because those ones, as he said, this is a high-risk project. High-risk project. We need to be involved as we move forward. They can continue, but as we move forward, we need to be involved in all steps that will come forward.
Okay, so let me clarify. Absolutely. We will be involved, we will move forward. As I said, engagement is very important. The high risk element is not high risk to the farmers, the farms, the associations, the environment. The high risk is to get the results of what we're doing on the stratigraphic geological perspective. That is what it is. So for the company to do what they're doing is because they want to, they believe in it. But the high risk is actually to get the results. It has nothing to do with any impacts that's going to be with anybody in your farming associations, the community conservancies, the community forests, and otherwise. It's not that. It's because there's money that has to be put in to do this project, and the results that we all want to have so that we can do the development is going to take some time, but it's not an easy find. That's what the high risk is. It's not anything else, okay? But absolutely, engagement with all the different groups is important, and we will continue to do that. But I just want to clarify that, okay?
So, Governor, I think before you conclude,
Okay, Honorable Governor just showed me, but I'm going to say the number. But I just have a motivation factor. So I was involved in dividing for Kavango West. When we do Kavango West, sampling. I call it sampling. It's not exploration. Maybe exploration in your language is sampling. And I was also in South Sudan for the UN project for the same thing. That's why we see South Sudan it's a very emerging country, but they've got oil. They have more barrels than the other one. And they want to do shipping of the oil from South Sudan because it's landlocked, and take it either to Kenya or something like that. This is just a motivation factor to say it's an easy, I can see it's an easy project that we can accept for our own development. It's not affecting the farm. I know Kawe. It's not in anybody's farm. So the people who are, please cool down, okay? Cool down. If they even explain, if there will be anything, then we can put it down. As law enforcement also, I don't want this to go that way. Do you understand? I want our people to accept this easy development that's coming. And if it becomes hot to such an extent, your development that you put in the farm, this and that, the law is there, it's already taken. So let me be happy. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I just want to first thank you, the Governor, for having convened this consultation meeting, and also to commend the Farmers Union and the Conservancy Association for having reached out to the Governor instead of having approached it differently. And I think what has been demonstrated is the power of discussion. I mean, the power in discussing things, especially when we differ on certain things. More likely than not, that difference is only because of the information asymmetry. The information I have is not the same information you have. And obviously, we all make decisions based on the information I have. So the power of getting together really, we can resolve a lot of things. I think some of the issues that we have got as problem in the country is simply because we refuse to get together and sit around the table and hear each other out to say, what is your concern, what is my concern? So if we can really continue in this and make this a Namibian way, where we have differences, instead of going to protest or doing something else, and just become everything must be protested against simply because we misunderstood each other. I think if we do this in the Namibian way, where we get together and iron out our differences, it will help us to develop. And as we continue to develop, things become more difficult. It doesn't become any easier. As it was said there, the resources that we have got is dwindling because the population is growing. And we need to find extra resources how we're going to develop the country. And that journey is not going to be an easy one. And therefore, really, if we can all agree to say, let's get around the table, iron out all our different understanding, I think we can develop the country much better. So thank you very much, Governor, for having convened this meeting. And I wish the company well. And as I said, communication and sharing information will continue to be very, very important, especially as we get towards Rundu. That's become more and more important. Therefore, let's make sure that all the stakeholders that need to be consulted are consulted so that we don't have misunderstanding. So thank you very much.
And now for our second story. The Electoral Commission of Namibia, ECN, has concluded with training of police officers and political party agents in the Karas region and Keetmanshoop specifically. According to the ECN, Regional Coordinator Augustinus Ucham, further training is currently ongoing in the Kami Kunis constituency. Please do forgive me for any mispronunciation. Cluster trainings are also expected to start soon in Karasburg, Keetmanshoop and Luderitz.
Currently, we are just training the polling officers, preparing them. We have already concluded training for the regional coordinators, returning officers, presiding officers. Now this is the last group. Because of COVID, we are also making sure that we have to divide people in the groups so that we can train them as per the different ranks. Now, in terms of the preparation of to be ready, we are really on track as per the plan that as this is the last training. At the same time, during the course of this week, we are also going to do the inspections of the private vehicles. We could not unfortunately manage to secure the number of vehicles what we want from the government garages. Therefore, the permission has been granted to make use of the private vehicles. So now, Thursday and Friday this week, we will have to inspect for the warranty, roadworthy of the private vehicles. And that will be, the testing will be in Karasburg, it will be in Keetmanshoop, it will be in Luderitz and Oranjemund. And the government garages colleagues, as well as the Namibian Police Traffic Departments, they will assist us with this testing of.
And now for our third and last video segment for today. Steffi attended the official launching of the National Roadmap for the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV and congenital syphilis, where the Deputy Minister of Health and Social Services, Esther Mwinjangue, inaugurated the National Validation Committee.
Organizations have nominated you to serve on this important committee because you have what it takes to support the elimination efforts. I am reliably informed that you are starting a training today to be oriented and equipped with additional knowledge, skills, and tools to perform your tasks as members of the National Validation Committee diligently. I hope you will take this task seriously and commit yourself to supporting the required process so that collectively we can achieve our goal of eliminating mother-to-child transmission of HIV and congenital syphilis. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks the acceleration of our exciting journey in our quest to eliminate mother-to-child transmission of HIV and syphilis in Namibia.
And now we move on to the front pages of our newspaper dailies. On the front page of the Namibian Sun, Kenya Kamboe reports that Recon Africa got the so-called go-ahead for the exploration in the Kavango Delta. The exploration of oil and gas in the Kavango East by Reconnaissance Energy Africa, which has been widely criticized, will continue as planned. This followed a 5-hour-long meeting in Rundu yesterday, where issues concerning some stakeholders were discussed. Do stay tuned to watch this video on the matter later in the show. Similarly, Republican leads with the same report, stating that a wake-up call from pressure groups is sounding louder against Recon Africa's plan to start oil and gas exploration in the Kavango East in the second half of September and possibly later exploit this. The drilling rig for oil and gas prospection in the Kavango Basin, in which 120 billion barrels of oil are to be extracted per year, is currently being shipped to Namibia. Meanwhile, local environmental organizations and stakeholders are now seriously taking the fight against hydrofracking. The Namibian leads with 3,300 schoolgirls who fell pregnant after the COVID lockdown, with some teens being impregnated by close family members. According to the report, a total of 443 schoolgirls in Ohangwena are pregnant alone. More than 25,200 pupils have not returned to school and cannot be traced, while 13,394 pupils are still being homeschooled. The New Era reports on its front page that the Law Society of Namibia has withdrawn its appeal in the Supreme Court against the High Court judgment which refused its access to inspect local lawyer Sisa Namanje's firm's trust account. The share structure of the Swakopmund municipality in the regional electricity supplier Erongo Red is to be revised because council has considerably expanded the local electricity grid at its own expense since Erongo Red was founded 15 years ago. From inside the Namibian Sun today, it is reported that Jason Iyambo was sentenced to 9 months in jail after admitting that he offered a 250,000 Namibian dollar bribe to an ACC official. The bribe was in an effort to get hold of bank cards belonging to fish-rot accused James Hatukulipi and Pius Matelulo. Republican reports that the Namibian film The White Line shines light on apartheid love stories and has been in local theaters since the 13th of November. The film made its international debut at the 40th Durban International Film Festival in July last year and has been screened at various international festivals since then. From page 5 in the Namibian, it is reported that the population of Gebabes is growing rapidly, causing the town's roads to become more congested. Residents are complaining that the absence of traffic lights at the town heads leads them to spending too much time on the roads. According to the public relations officer of the Gebabes municipality, Frederick Witilele, the matter has been discussed at council level. From inside the New Era, they report that the ECN is ready for elections amid voter apathy fears. The Electoral Commission of Namibia has called on registered voters to throng to polling stations next week Wednesday as the nation votes in the regional council and local authority elections. The regional and local authority elections have seen a poor turnout over the years, and Chairperson Notemba Shipuea hopes the situation will not repeat itself this year. In today's careers, young adults receive financial tips to be responsible. According to the report, although student debt can be significant, the desire to take advantage of one's youth can lead to some reckless spending. It is important to set financial goals early on and be sure to start a budget. All right, Namibia, that is it for our newspaper stories. Let's go for a quick ad break and we'll be right back to introduce the interview segment for today.
Yesterday that Santa Claus is on his way. Let's get ready for Christmas Day. A little bird on my shoulder whistled sweet and low. It's time to hang the mistletoe. Hurry up, follow me through the snow. whistled in my ear that soon the bells will start to ring. Close your eyes, count 1, 2, 3. A little bird told me from above the Christmas tree, ribbons and boxes I can see, pretty gifts for you and for me.
In our interview segment for today, Irvin Lauschner spoke to Minister Pohamba Shifeta. Do take a look.
What happened outside? So we normally ban some areas to make sure that we have a proper cut line and then fire breaks, so that we prevent fire coming from outside the park and the park. So, and we have succeeded doing that. So that's why we allowed some parts just to get burned. We did not want to bother extinguish that fire because we already planned to burn that part. We wanted that to happen, but only some part, from especially close to the Harari and Namtune, that side, where also some damage to the pole, electrical poles. With the manpower, I think I fixed it now. The only that part that, of course, the fire, because the fire came from different farms, and this is exactly because the result is a result of those charcoal producers in those farms. And that's why I said earlier that we are now working on amending the Forestry Act in order to put some kind of criminal norms and criminal sanctions in this, so that those fire producers, whenever they undertake such activities, they are guided by some rules, and in case they violate those rules, it becomes a criminal case. Because there must be some responsibility, even a civil case, where people can claim from these people who do this deliberately. Because there's a kind of relaxation, and people do not really want to take responsibility when they produce charcoals. And 70% of this fire, we had, all the fires we had, especially in Ojerojupa, Kunene, Kavango, Escoto, because of the Endomaheke, because of fire producers, charcoal for producers.
Right, no animals whatsoever attacking the fire, right? Or
in the park, not really any valued animals, apart from rabbits and mice, snakes. Those one, of course, they will not escape because there was no, that one happens. It's part of nature when we do fire, even when we do deliberate fire burning. So we had to do some to contain the fire that was coming. That's why we had to do back burning. So just to make sure that it's contained, and we were monitoring that. Because in most cases, when we were helping, we assisted, those farmers outside. We took our equipment there from Metosa and also equipment from other areas from the Forestry Directorate to extinguish the fire, but then they did not do a follow-up. So that's why this fire always comes after even 2 days, because sometimes they leave some coals in there or some trees still burning, and without knowing that when the wind comes, because of this hot wind, it's easy for the fire to catch again in another area. So that was, in fact, from their own, that they did not take up that responsibility. And we always tell them that when you extinguish the fire, or when equipment comes and it's extinguish the fire, they must make sure that they make a follow-up, radius of at least about 50 meters. You must make sure that there are no some burning or some smoke coming there. You must come and do something there, extinguish that part, because once wind comes, it will still, those parts will still get into the forest and then start burning.
But for now it's completely out, right?
Yeah, now it's okay, and it's good that the part that got burned okay because even if the fire break out, it will not come again because it works as now fire break that part.
When long ago was this? Was it like about a month ago?
Yeah, it's last month. Last month we had almost 15 days areas burned, those farms.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our episode of NMH at 1. We thank you so much for joining us on our Friday edition, and we wish you nothing but a great weekend ahead. Do stay tuned for a quick snapshot of the weather as well. Goodbye, Namibia.